You won't believe what happened in that courtroom. A husband sat proudly beside his mistress, smiling, as he signed divorce papers right in front of the woman who had given him everything. But what he didn't know was that the same judge witnessing his arrogance was about to turn his victory into the biggest regret of his life. Alicia sat still, her hands trembling as she stared at the man she had once called her everything. Marcus looked different now, cold, confident, and cruel. The love that once warmed his eyes was gone, replaced by the smug grin of a man who thought he'd won. Beside him sat Lila, the mistress, dressed in a tight red dress, her manicured hand resting proudly on Marcus's thigh, like she was marking her territory. The sound of the pen scratching across paper echoed in the silent courtroom as Marcus signed the divorce papers with ease. Alicia's throat tightened. This was it. 12 years of marriage, gone in seconds. She didn't even know which hurt more, the betrayal or the public humiliation of watching him act like she never existed. Marcus didn't even glance her way. He was too busy whispering something to Lila that made her giggle softly. Judge Harris, a woman known for her calm authority, looked up from the documents and studied the three of them. She had seen many divorces in her courtroom, but something about this one caught her attention. The arrogance, the disrespect, the quiet pain in Alicia's eyes. It didn't sit right with her. Mrs. Thompson, the judge said softly, "Do you understand the terms of this divorce?" Alicia nodded, her voice quiet but steady. "Yes, Your Honor." "And you're signing these papers willingly?" For a long moment, she didn't move. The courtroom waited in silence. Marcus sighed impatiently, muttering, "Come on, Alicia. Don't make a scene." Her eyes lifted slowly to meet his. "A scene?" she said quietly. "No, Marcus. You already made one. I'm just cleaning it up." Then she took the pen, signed her name, and slid the papers back across the table. The sound of the judge's gavel brought the marriage to its official end. Marcus leaned back, smiling faintly. "Guess that's that," he said, standing up. Lila wrapped her arm around his, and they walked out together, laughing softly like they had just won a prize. Alicia remained seated for a long moment. The courtroom emptied, but she stayed. Her heart felt heavy, but not broken. No, this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something else, though she didn't know it yet. When she finally stepped outside, the sun was too bright, the air too sharp. Cameras flashed as reporters shouted questions. Apparently, Lila was a small-time influencer, and the story of the power attorney who left his wife for a model had already made headlines. Microphones pointed at Alicia, but she kept walking. She didn't know anyone her pain. That night, back in her small apartment, she sat by the window staring out at the city lights. It felt strange being alone. For 12 years, she had shared everything, her dreams, her energy, her money, with Marcus. She had supported him through law school, worked 2 jobs to help him open his firm, even gave up her own ambitions so he could chase his. And now, after everything, he had tossed her aside like she was a chapter he'd outgrown. Her phone buzzed, a notification from social media. Against her better judgment, she opened it. There they were, Marcus and Lila, smiling in a photo captioned "New Beginnings." She scrolled further down. There was a video, Lila laughing, saying, "Some people aren't meant to last forever. Sometimes love means knowing when to move on." Alicia almost threw the phone, but she stopped herself. No, they wanted her broken. They wanted her bitter. She wouldn't give them that satisfaction. Instead, she opened her laptop and began writing. Nothing fancy, just thoughts. Words poured out like floodwater. Her pain, her anger, her story. For the first time in weeks, she felt something powerful rising inside her, strength. A few days later, an unexpected letter arrived from the courthouse. The judge requested her presence again. Confused, Alicia frowned. The divorce was already finalized. What could this be about? Meanwhile, Marcus and Lila were enjoying their new life. Expensive dinners, photo shoots, parties, everything documented online. Marcus was more confident than ever, telling everyone how free he finally felt. Lila soaked in the attention, loving every second of it. But behind the scenes, cracks were forming. Judge Harris couldn't shake the unease she felt after the hearing. Something about Marcus bothered her. Maybe it was the arrogance, maybe the lack of remorse. Out of curiosity, and partly out of intuition, she took another look at his financial records. What she found made her eyebrows rise. There were inconsistencies. Transfers between accounts that didn't match, Missing tax documents, hidden income. It wasn't her job to investigate, but she knew trouble when she saw it. When Alicia arrived at court the next week, she looked more composed. Dressed neatly, calm, collected. Judge Harris greeted her warmly and asked, "Mrs. Thompson, I just need a few clarifications. Did you financially support your husband when he started his law firm?" Alicia hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. I paid for almost everything. Rent, furniture, his tuition loans. I used my savings and my inheritance. He said it was our future. Were you ever listed as a business partner or co-owner?" the judge asked. Alicia shook her head slowly. "No. Marcus said he'd fix it later, once things got better. But he never did." Judge Harris jotted a few notes, her expression unreadable. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That will be all for now." Alicia left the courtroom confused but strangely hopeful. For weeks, she had felt powerless, invisible. But now, it felt like someone finally saw her, not as a broken ex-wife, but as a woman who had been wronged. Back in her office, Judge Harris leaned back in her chair, tapping her pen thoughtfully. "So," she murmured to herself, "Mr. Thompson thinks he can just walk away after using her money to build his empire? Not on my watch." Something was about to change, and Marcus Thompson was about to learn the hard way that when you betray a good woman, karma doesn't knock. It walks right through the front door wearing a judge's robe. A week after that mysterious meeting in court, Alicia tried to move on. She kept her head down, went to work, and avoided anything that could remind her of Marcus. But the world wouldn't let her forget. Every time she opened her phone, there they were, Marcus and Lila, smiling, flaunting their new life. Dinner parties, vacations, expensive cars. It was like they were living on another planet, while she was still trying to breathe through the pain they left behind. Her friends told her to block them, delete social media, start fresh, but deep down, Alicia wasn't done yet. Not out of revenge, but because she knew there was more to this story than what people saw. Something inside her told her that Marcus's new perfect life was built on lies. Meanwhile, Judge Harris had been busy. Late at night, she sat in her office reviewing Marcus's financial documents. She had quietly requested a few files from the tax department and cross-referenced them with Alicia's testimony. It didn't take long to notice the truth. Marcus had been hiding money, a lot of it. Funds transferred through dummy accounts, all connected to a company Alicia helped fund years ago. The judge leaned back in her chair, shaking her head. "You really thought you were clever, didn't you, Mr. Thompson?" she murmured. The next morning, she made a discreet call to a financial investigator she trusted. "I want this checked," quietly she said. "And don't alert him. I just need confirmation." Over the next few days, things began to move quickly behind the scenes. Marcus, unaware of the storm brewing, was living like a king. He had recently bought a new car, a sleek black Mercedes, and surprised Lila with a diamond bracelet. "You deserve this, baby," he told her, slipping it onto her wrist. Lila smiled, posting the moment online with the caption, "Hard work pays off." But the truth was, it wasn't his hard work that paid for any of it, it was Alicia's. The money that built his firm, his image, his career, it all started with her sacrifice. A week later, Marcus received an unexpected letter from the court. He frowned as he opened it. "A follow-up hearing?" he muttered. "For what?" "The divorce is already done." Lila peeked over his shoulder. "Maybe it's just paperwork," she said, uninterested. Marcus shrugged it off, but deep down, something about the formal tone of the letter bothered him. "They don't just call people back for nothing," he muttered, tossing the letter on his desk. The day of the hearing arrived, and Marcus showed up dressed in his expensive suit, Lila by his side as usual. Cameras flashed when they entered the courthouse. It had become a habit now. But inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was different. Quiet. Serious. Judge Harris looked up from her bench, expression calm but firm. "Mr. Thompson, thank you for appearing. I've called this session to discuss some financial matters related to your divorce." Marcus forced a smile. "Of course, Your Honor. I believe everything was settled fairly." The judge folded her hands. "That's what I'd like to clarify." She turned to Alicia, who sat silently at the other table. She looked composed, strong, different. There was no trace of the broken woman who had signed those papers weeks ago. Judge Harris continued, "Mrs. Thompson has testified that she financially supported you during the establishment of your law firm. Can you confirm this, Mr. Thompson?" Marcus hesitated. "Well, yes, in the beginning she helped. But that was years ago. I repaid her. The judge raised an eyebrow. You repaid her? There's no record of that. Marcus shifted in his seat. It wasn't formal, Your Honor. It was between us. Interesting, the judge said. Because according to bank statements, not only was she never reimbursed, but her funds were used to open your first office, an office that still operates today under your name. Do you deny this? Marcus's jaw tightened. No, but the judge cut him off gently. And yet, despite using her financial support, you never listed her as a partner or co-owner. Is that correct? Lila glanced nervously at Marcus, who was sweating now. Your Honor, with all due respect, that's a personal matter. Judge Harris leaned forward slightly. It became a legal matter the moment you used her investments to build your professional assets. According to the law, Mrs. Thompson may be entitled to a portion of your firm's current value. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Marcus's eyes widened. That's absurd, he snapped. She signed the divorce papers. Everything was settled. Actually, the judge said calmly. She signed based on incomplete financial disclosure. And that makes the settlement invalid. Lila's face went pale. Invalid, she whispered. Judge Harris turned to Alicia. Mrs. Thompson, do you wish to reopen the case and claim your rightful share? Alicia took a deep breath, her hands steady. Yes, Your Honor. I do. Marcus jumped to his feet. This is insane. You can't just… Sit down, Mr. Thompson, the judge said sharply. You'll have your turn. He sat, glaring at Alicia. You're doing this to ruin me. Alicia met his gaze calmly. No, Marcus. I'm doing this because you ruined yourself. The rest of the session went downhill for Marcus. The investigator's report confirmed that he had hidden assets and undeclared income. Judge Harris's tone grew colder as she read through the findings. You have not only defrauded your ex-wife, but also violated several financial disclosure laws. I'm referring this case to the district attorney for review. Marcus's confidence shattered. Wait, what? That's not necessary. The judge's gavel came down firmly. This court will not tolerate deceit. The divorce settlement will be reopened, and all assets frozen until further notice. Court adjourned. The sound of the gavel echoed like thunder. Marcus sat there, pale and shaking, as Alicia quietly stood and walked out of the courtroom without looking back. For the first time, it was Marcus who felt small. Outside, reporters swarmed again, but this time, the attention wasn't on Marcus and Lila's love story. It was on the scandal. Attorney accused of hiding assets from ex-wife. Influencer's boyfriend under investigation. As cameras flashed, Alicia walked past them calmly, head held high. One reporter called out, Mrs. Thompson, do you have anything to say to your ex-husband? She paused for a moment, then smiled faintly. Only that sometimes, the truth takes its time, but it always shows up. She walked away, the flash of cameras following her, but she didn't care. For the first time in months, she felt free. Meanwhile, back inside the courthouse, Marcus's world was falling apart. His phone buzzed with messages from clients withdrawing their contracts, his law firm partners demanding answers, and his so-called friends vanishing into silence. Lila, too, looked terrified. Marcus, what's going to happen now? He didn't answer. For the first time, he had no idea what to say. Marcus sat in silence that night, staring at the half-empty glass of whiskey on his desk. His office, once a symbol of success, felt colder than ever. The phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Reporters, clients, his partners, everyone wanted answers. The story had exploded online. Prominent attorney accused of fraud by ex-wife. The same followers who once praised him were now calling him a liar and a cheat. Lila paced the room anxiously. Marcus, you said everything was fine. You told me the money was clean. He rubbed his forehead. It was fine. That judge, she's digging too deep. This shouldn't even be happening. Lila crossed her arms. You should have told me about the money. You didn't say it came from her savings. Marcus shot her a glare. Don't start with me, Lila. You think I built everything just for it to be taken away because of some paperwork? Her eyes filled with frustration. It's not some paperwork. You lied, Marcus. You made me look like a fool in front of everyone. He slammed the desk with his fist, making her jump. I didn't lie to you. I just didn't think it mattered. Lila stared at him for a long moment, the realization sinking in. You didn't think I mattered either, she said softly. Just like her. And with that, she grabbed her purse and walked out. For the first time, Marcus didn't chase after her. While his world began to fall apart, Alicia's was quietly rebuilding. She wasn't rich, and she wasn't famous, but she was peaceful. She had started volunteering at a local community center, mentoring young women about financial independence and self-worth. Her story inspired many. People began to reach out to her online with messages like, "You gave me courage to leave my toxic marriage, and your strength is everything I needed to hear." One afternoon, she received a call from Judge Harris's assistant. "Mrs. Thompson, the judge would like to meet with you privately." Alicia was surprised but agreed. When she arrived at the courthouse, Judge Harris greeted her with a warm smile. "I just wanted to say," she began, "you handled yourself with incredible dignity. You could have fought dirty, but you didn't." Alicia smiled softly. "I just wanted the truth to come out. I didn't need revenge." The judge nodded. "And that's exactly why you won. The district attorney has opened a formal investigation. Marcus will likely lose his license, at least temporarily." Alicia was quiet for a moment. "It's sad," she said finally. "He used to be a good man." "Power changes people," the judge replied. "But integrity reveals who they really are." As Alicia left the courthouse that day, the fall breeze brushed her face. For the first time, she didn't feel heavy. She felt light, free, even. Meanwhile, Marcus was drowning. His office had been raided for financial records, his license suspended pending investigation, and his partners had cut ties completely. His phone was silent now, not because people weren't calling, but because he had nothing left to say. He sat alone in his penthouse apartment, surrounded by things money could buy, but love never could. On the table lay an unopened envelope from the courthouse, the revised financial settlement. When he finally opened it, his hands trembled. Half of his firm's value, several properties, and assets were being transferred to Alicia. He slammed the paper down and shouted into the empty room. "This is impossible." But deep inside, he knew it wasn't. He had done this to himself. Lila, on the other hand, had been trying to rebuild her image. Her social media followers had turned against her, calling her a homewrecker. Brand deals were canceled, her influencer reputation ruined overnight. In a desperate move, she called Marcus. "Marcus, please," she said when he picked up, her voice shaky. "They're destroying me online. I didn't know this would happen. I didn't mean for," he cut her off coldly. "You wanted fame, Lila. Well, now you have it." "Don't do that," she whispered. "We both made mistakes." "No," he said sharply. "I made mistakes. You were one of them." The line went dead. Alone again, Marcus poured himself another drink and stared out the window. The city lights blurred through his tears. For the first time, he admitted to himself what he had refused to believe. He had lost everything, not because of bad luck, but because he destroyed the one person who would have stood by him even now. At the same time, Alicia was moving forward. Her story had caught the attention of a local journalist who invited her for an interview. "You don't have to do this," her friend warned. "It'll bring everything back up." But Alicia smiled. Maybe that's the point. Maybe someone out there needs to hear it. The interview went viral within days. The clip of her saying, "Strength doesn't come from never falling. It comes from getting back up when the world thinks you're done," was shared thousands of times. She was invited to speak at women's events, her story turning into a movement. People who once pitted her now admired her. She didn't talk about Marcus by name anymore. She didn't need to. Her piece spoke louder than his downfall. Meanwhile, Marcus watched that same interview from his dark apartment, his hands trembling. There she was, Alicia. Calm, radiant, powerful. The same woman he had humiliated now stood taller than ever, admired by the world. He whispered to himself, "She looks happy." Then he laughed bitterly. "Of course she does." A knock at the door broke the silence. It was his lawyer, holding a thick folder. "Marcus, we need to talk. The investigation's getting worse. The DA's office found more irregularities in your accounts." Marcus rubbed his temples. "Can't this wait?" "No, it can't," the lawyer said firmly. "If you don't cooperate, you could be facing criminal charges." The words hit him like ice water. Criminal charges? Yes. Fraud, tax evasion, possibly perjury. They're saying you signed false statements during your divorce. Marcus's knees almost buckled. "No, no, no," he muttered, sitting down hard. "This can't be happening." But it was. And as the lawyer left, Marcus sat there alone again, his empire collapsing around him. The city that once admired him now despised his name. The woman he mocked was thriving. And the judge who once watched him smirk across that courtroom had made sure he'd regret every arrogant word he ever said. He poured another drink, but didn't take a sip. Instead, he whispered into the empty room. I wish I could take it back, all of it. Marcus barely recognized himself anymore. The confident, polished attorney was gone, replaced by a man with dark circles under his eyes and bills piling up on his table. His license had been officially suspended. His firm had collapsed, his partners gone, and the fancy penthouse that once echoed with laughter was now filled only with silence and regret. Days blurred into nights as he sat alone, scrolling through old photos of Alicia on his phone. There she was, smiling at his graduation, cheering him on when he won his first case, holding his hand through every struggle. What did I do? He whispered to the empty room. Why did I throw her away for nothing? He scrolled further and stopped at a picture of him and Lila, one from their early days together. She looked beautiful, carefree, everything he thought he wanted. But even in that photo, he could see it now. The difference. Lila looked at the camera. Alicia always looked at him. He sighed deeply. I traded loyalty for lust, he muttered, and lost everything that mattered. Meanwhile, Lila was falling apart too. Her social media empire had crumbled overnight. Sponsorships were gone, her followers turned on her, and every post was flooded with hate comments. Homewrecker, you deserve what you got. Karma's coming. She deleted her accounts and moved into a small apartment outside the city, too afraid to even go out. But what haunted her most wasn't the hate, it was guilt. She had watched Marcus destroy Alicia, and she had smiled through it, thinking she'd won. But now, every time she looked in the mirror, she saw the truth. One night, Lila couldn't take it anymore. She called Alicia. Her hand trembled as she pressed the call button, unsure what she'd even say. After a few rings, Alicia answered softly, hello. Lila swallowed hard. Alicia, it's me. Lila. Silence. Then Alicia said calmly, I know who you are. What do you want? Lila's voice broke. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I know sorry can't fix anything, but I was stupid. I thought he loved me. I didn't realize what I was helping him destroy until it was too late. Alicia was quiet for a long moment. Why now? Lila hesitated. Because I can't sleep anymore. I see your face every time I close my eyes. You didn't deserve what happened. Alicia exhaled slowly. You're right. I didn't. But you're owning up to it. That's more than he's done. I don't expect forgiveness, Lila said, tears falling. But I needed to say it. Alicia's tone softened. You made your choices, Lila. Now make better ones. Life doesn't end because you made mistakes. It ends when you stop learning from them. Lila sobbed quietly. Thank you. I mean it. Thank you. After hanging up, Alicia sat quietly, letting the peace settle in. It wasn't about revenge anymore. She had forgiven, not for them, but for herself. The weight she'd carried for months finally began to lift. Meanwhile, Marcus was running out of options. The DA's office had pressed formal charges for financial misconduct and fraud. His assets were frozen, and his once loyal employees were now witnesses against him. He had hit rock bottom. One evening, desperate and broken, Marcus showed up at Alicia's apartment. She opened the door, shocked to see him standing there. He looked nothing like the man she remembered, his suit wrinkled, his face tired, eyes filled with regret. Alicia, he began quietly, I know I'm the last person you want to see. But please, I needed to talk to you. She hesitated, then stepped aside. You have 5 minutes. He nodded, stepping in slowly. I don't even know where to start. I was wrong. About everything. I hurt you, lied to you, took advantage of you. And now I'm paying for it. Alicia crossed her arms. You're not paying for it, Marcus. You're just facing the truth. There's a difference. He looked down. I don't expect forgiveness. I want you to know I regret it. Every day. Alicia studied him for a moment. Do you regret what you did? Or do you just regret losing? Marcus's eyes filled with tears. Both, he whispered. I thought leaving you would make me happy. But every time something went wrong, every time I fell lower, I realized you were the only person who ever believed in me. You made me who I was, and I destroyed that. For a brief moment, Alicia saw a flicker of the man she once loved. The one who used to make her laugh at 2 a.m. The one who dreamed big even when they had nothing. But that man was gone. I hope you find peace someday, she said finally. But it won't be with me. I've already found mine. Marcus nodded slowly, his voice breaking. You deserve it. He turned to leave, pausing at the door. Goodbye, Alicia. Goodbye, Marcus, she said softly. When the door closed behind him, Alicia exhaled deeply. She didn't cry. She didn't feel angry. Just calm. It was over, for real this time. 2 weeks later, news broke that Marcus had been sentenced to community service and ordered to repay a large settlement to Alicia for misuse of funds. His license was revoked indefinitely. The man who once ruled courtrooms now spent his days doing public service at a legal aid center, helping people he used to look down on. Lila, on the other hand, took Alicia's advice. She started volunteering at a women's shelter, helping women who had gone through emotional and financial abuse. For the first time, she found purpose beyond attention. As for Alicia, life had changed beautifully. Her story had caught the attention of a nonprofit organization that offered her a position as a financial empowerment coach. Her confidence, compassion, and calm strength made her the perfect fit. One evening, she walked out of her new office, the sunset painting the sky in soft gold. She smiled to herself, whispering, "It's funny, sometimes losing everything is how you finally find yourself." Her phone buzzed with a message from the judge. "Proud of you, Mrs. Thompson. You turned pain into power. Keep shining." Alicia typed back, "Thank you, Your Honor. I finally understand. Justice isn't always about punishment. Sometimes it's about peace." She slipped her phone back into her purse and walked down the street, her steps light, her heart free. And somewhere across town, Marcus sat on a park bench after finishing his community service shift. He watched people passing by, laughing, living their lives, and whispered, "I hope she's happy." For the first time in months, he smiled, sadly, but sincerely, because deep down, he knew she was. A full year had passed since that unforgettable courtroom day. Seasons changed, the world moved on, but for everyone involved, life would never be the same again. Alicia stood on the stage of a large auditorium, her voice steady and filled with confidence. She was speaking at a women's empowerment conference titled Rebuilding After Betrayal. Hundreds of people listened in silence as she shared her journey, how she lost everything and rebuilt herself from the ground up. "When you go through something that breaks you," she said, her voice warm, "you have two choices: let it define you, or let it refine you." I chose the second. The crowd erupted in applause. Cameras flashed, people stood to clap. Alicia smiled humbly, her heart full. She wasn't famous because of drama anymore. She was respected for her courage, her grace, her story. After the speech, as people lined up to meet her, a woman stepped forward holding a bouquet of white lilies. It was Lila. She looked different now. Simple clothes, no heavy makeup, a quiet humility in her eyes. "Alicia," she said softly, handing her the flowers. "I wanted to say thank you. For everything. For what you said to me that night. It changed my life." Alicia accepted the bouquet with a small smile. "You didn't have to. I wanted to," Lila said, her eyes glistening. "I'm working at a women's shelter now, helping people who've been through what I caused others. It's not enough to erase what I did, but it's something." Alicia nodded. "That's the best thing you could do. Turn your regret into purpose." The two women stood there for a moment, not as enemies, but as survivors. Then Lila said quietly, "You really are everything he said you were. Strong, kind, way too good for him." Alicia chuckled softly. "I'm not sure he'd say that now." Lila smiled faintly. "Oh, he would. He's not the same either." That night, curiosity tugged at Alicia's heart. She hadn't thought about Marcus in months, but now she wondered, what had become of him? The next morning, fate answered her question. She had been invited to speak at a community legal aid event, a program that offered free legal guidance to low-income families. It was held in a local courthouse, and as she walked through the building, nostalgia hit her. The same echo of footsteps, the smell of paper and polished floors, it all came rushing back. She smiled, shaking her head. "Life really comes full circle," she whispered. Then she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Mrs. Thompson?" She turned and froze. It was Marcus. He was wearing a simple shirt and slacks. No expensive suit, no arrogance. His hair had a few strands of gray now. His face looked older, wiser, and softer somehow. He held a folder and a cup of coffee, clearly working there. For a moment, they both just stared. The air between them was heavy with everything they hadn't said, and maybe didn't need to. "Alicia," he said quietly, breaking the silence first. "I didn't expect to see you here." She found her voice. "I could say the same." He nodded awkwardly. I work here now. Legal aid. Helping people who can't afford attorneys. He smiled faintly. It's part of my restitution, but also, I asked to stay. Feels meaningful. Alicia studied him, surprised. There was no pride in his tone, just honesty. That's good, Marcus. He looked down, then met her eyes again. I heard about your work. The speeches, the programs you've started. I'm proud of you. She smiled gently. Thank you. He hesitated, then said softly. I know it doesn't change anything, but I needed to tell you. Alicia, I've spent every day of this year trying to be a better man than the one who hurt you. You deserved love, loyalty, and respect, and I gave you none of that. Alicia's eyes softened. I forgave you a long time ago, Marcus. Not for you, but for me. I needed to be free. He nodded slowly, emotion flickering in his eyes. I know, and you should be. You always deserved peace. There was silence again. For a moment, they both stood there, two people who had once shared a life, now separated by time, choices, and lessons learned the hard way. Finally, Alicia said gently, Take care of yourself, Marcus. He smiled faintly. You too, Alicia. And thank you for showing me what strength really looks like. She nodded once, then turned to leave. As she walked down the hall, the sound of her heels echoed softly, steady, confident, free. Marcus watched her go, a quiet smile on his face. He didn't feel anger or regret anymore, just peace. Because for the first time, he finally understood what love really meant. It wasn't about possession. It was about wishing someone well, even when they walked away. Outside, the sky was painted with soft orange light. Alicia stepped out into the sun, feeling the warmth on her skin. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Life wasn't perfect. It never would be. But it was hers again, beautiful, peaceful, and full of purpose. As she walked toward her car, a young woman called out, Mrs. Thompson, I just wanted to say, your story changed my life. Alicia smiled kindly. Then my pain wasn't wasted. She got into her car, rolled down the window, and looked one last time at the courthouse, the place where her heart had once shattered, and where her strength had been reborn. And somewhere inside that same building, Marcus returned to his desk, looked out the window, and whispered with a bittersweet smile, She made it. The world had come full circle. The husband who signed divorce papers beside his mistress had lost everything, and learned what true humility was. The mistress who once smiled with pride had found redemption through empathy. And the woman they both underestimated had risen stronger than either of them could imagine. Justice had been served, not through punishment, but through growth. And as the sun dipped low over the city, it was clear that the judge hadn't just given them a verdict. She had given them a lesson. When you betray love, you might win the moment. But when love forgives you and walks away, that's when you truly lose everything. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story like this one. Drop a comment below and tell me, what part of this story hit you the hardest?